There are an awful lot of young people out there today which will not remember the 80s. A very large portion of them will not remember the 90s. And they, without sounding offensive to them, are very impressionable by a lot of the things they see and a lot of the things they hear. And they think, oh, this is the big wide world. We have a general election coming up next year at some point, and there is an awful lot of political manoeuvring going on right now about how wonderful they can make it for us. There's a certain politician that put something out on Twitter earlier that caught my eye. And I want to tell you what that is, and then tell you what I think. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're well. Let me know in the comments, and thank you very much for your support. I appreciate it. Please continue to keep doing what you're doing with your subscriptions, your likes, your comments, everything else. It's helping the channel grow, and I am so appreciative. I really am. And one of the things that I like to do is give you my opinion, or, you know, bring you facts that you might not necessarily see online. And I suppose this video is aimed at a generation that may not remember. When I look at the analytics for the channel, a lot of the people that watch this are probably 40s, 50s plus who will remember, but there are certain people that don't, and it's very important that they understand what's going on. You see, every 4 years, every 4 to 5 years, the politicians will come out and they'll start making grandiose promises and grandiose statements about what they will do and what they will deliver for the British people. A big portion of which is seldom delivered. They either can't, or they won't, or they never had any intention of doing so in the first place. It's a pattern of behaviour that's existed with those in power for several generations at least. With the current system of voting in this country, be it first past the post, despite the best intentions of everybody else, it's very apparent that it would be very difficult to shift them, if not nigh on impossible, using what we have at the moment. Now, I want to read a tweet that I saw from Keir Starmer earlier. We obviously know who he is. I remember how excited I was to move to Leeds to study. Obviously a lawyer. It was a financial stretch then. If I were a student today, I simply wouldn't be able to go. My Labour government will rewire the economy so it rewards hard work and allows aspirations to flourish. It's a very worthwhile statement, isn't it? It fills our younger generation with hope of a better future, hope of something more than they are. Okay. Keir Starmer is in his late 50s, last I looked. So 10, 15 years older than me, so went to university slightly before I did. Yes, I went to university, even though I was a taxi driver. Now, let me tell you this. I went to university when I was 19. So 1996/1997 was about the time I applied. I got a full grant. My tuition fees were paid and everything else. Now, for those of you that are wondering why I'm a taxi driver if I went to university, I didn't finish. It just wasn't for me, and I had to find an alternative path. But that's another story for another time. Anyway, I got a full grant, and I ended up with a cheque for, I think it was about 650 quid. And in the 90s, for a young kid, that was a lot of money. I had to give that cheque over to the university, and that paid my accommodation for the term. And the same was true in the second year, when I moved into a house with all of my friends. At least the beer was cheap. Well, we were in a particularly advantageous area because we were the last year where those that needed the financial support would get full grants. There were demonstrations that year 1997, I remember it well. There were coachloads of students everywhere, all throughout the land, or universities everywhere, that went up to London, and we walked through the streets with placards demonstrating for future generations of students to say, this is not fair, you can't do this, you can't take away people's means of attending university when they're capable and they're not given the chance. And what was the solution to this? Enhance the availability of student loans. So effectively, anybody that goes to university now and leaves will be in thousands and thousands of pounds worth of debt. It's not a future I'd want for my children, definitely not. Now, Labour in the current day would blame the Conservatives for all this. But do you know who was in power in 1997? It wasn't the Conservatives. No, it was Labour. So when they make all these promises about what they will do and how much wonderful life is going to be under their stewardship, we need to look back. Where did this change and who was in charge when it did? And then we will have the answers. And ultimately, we will realise they're all full of shit. And they're not going to do any of this. And they just want one thing and one thing only. Power. That's what it's all about. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Anyone in my age group had similar experience? Be good to hear from you. Anyway, look after yourselves. Thank you very much for coming for another day. Appreciate the support. I'll see you tomorrow with more stuff. Toodaloo.